What's going on there, YouTube? We are going to continue our coverage over the Marvel event better known as Empyre. We actually pick up with the Lords of Empyre Swordsman. This is actually a great book because it actually focuses on swordsmen. Now remember, this is not the actual swordsman because back in the early days in the Avengers comics, swordsman died right before the Kree Skrull War storyline, where we learn why the Kree and the Skrulls were fighting against one another. But of course, thanks to that storyline introducing the idea that the Celestial Madonna, which was Mantis, this perfect human, will give birth to the Celestial Messiah, a being who is going to save the universe, she had to get pregnant first. So Cotati, a plant-like being, took over the dead body of Swordsman because that was the person she was in love with. And the Cotati knew she was the Celestial Madonna, so she had to get pregnant to save the universe. So that is why we pick up on the new home planet of the Cotati. Now the reason why I say the new home planet, because they used to share a planet with the Kree before the Kree Skrull War, except now they don't, thanks to the Kree trying to kill them. So they went to a new planet. But we actually pick up with the Cotati swordsman upset because before he took over the dead body of Swordsman, he was a great leader of the Cotati. But because he took over the dead body of Swordsman, the rest of the Cotatis look at him as some kind of disgrace to their race. So he is left out of some big meetings that is discussing things about his son. But once his son, the Celestial Messiah, better known as Qoui, is done with the meeting, he said it is time for their trip, which is to return the sword of the original swordsman to the grave of the original swordsman, but they must get it back first. Now the reason why they have to steal it back is because the sword was actually being kept in one of the many rooms in Tony Stark's tower. But of course, Tony Stark comes to find out the sword that used to belong to swordsmen is no longer around. And Tony Stark can't believe that his security system was unable to capture the people who had taken the sword. And we know who took the sword. It was a Cotati swordsman and also Qoui as well. But then we jump over to the Temple of the Priests of Palma. Now this Temple of Priests of Palma has been around for a very long time. And the Priests of Palma has also been around for a very long time in Marvel Comics. Matter of fact, they first appeared, I want to say, in the Kree Skrull War storyline. But in reality though, with that storyline right there, we had learned that there was a group of Cotatis that was sent away by the Kree when the Kree and the Cotati share the same home world. But that group was sent down to Earth. Now when they arrived to Earth, of course they did build a temple where they wrote down the prophecy that they believed that was going to happen, which was that the Celestial Madonna would give birth to the Celestial Messiah, which it did happen. Mantis being the perfect human being, the Celestial Madonna, she did give birth to the Celestial Messiah, which was Qoui, who's right now with Swordsman. But getting back to the Temple of the Priests of Palma, their temple just gets attacked by some random plants. And the question is now, what just happened? But then we jump over to Alchemax. Now remember what I said back in our Fantastic Four tie-ins for Empyre, that when it comes to Alchemax, they are a very shady group. But with that being said though, we actually pick up with Leonora Yoon, who is the vice president of Alchemax, the Asia Pacific location. And right now she's calling up the person in charge of all of Alchemax, which is Robert Chandler, to show him what happened to the Temple of the Priests of Palma. And so right now, he's telling her to send a team in to figure out what in the world is going on out there. But we do jump over to Swordsman and Qoui as they're right now traveling through the jungle that's supposed to lead them over to the Temple of the Priests of Palma, because that is where they're going to take the sword. Now, of course, you do have Swordsman begin to tell us why he does not trust humans at all. Because that right there is very important, because for Qoui, he believes that humans are okay because they have fought alongside the Avengers for so many years. But when it comes to swordsmen, Cotati swordsman, he believes that when it comes to the humans, they cannot be trusted at all. Because with the Cotati swordsman having the body of the original swordsman, he's also holding on to the memories of the old school swordsman. And let's not forget, when it came to the original swordsman, he was a bad guy first, then he turned into a good guy. And so right now it seems like when it comes to swordsman, he's probably using the memories of the old swordsman to kind of figure out that humans are technically bad and good. They're good and bad when it comes to humans. When swordsman and Qoui arrive at the temple of the priest of Palma, that is the moment they come to find out that Alchemax is already there. And right now they're trying to cut down the vines of this temple. Now the reason why swordsman is so angry because he tells us that when him and Qoui took their ship and flew right over the temple, Qoui powers activated and made the plant life grow here crazy. And so that explains what happened earlier. But with those plant lives going crazy, now Alchemax is here and they're trying to cut down all of these vines, something that swordsman and Qoui are not okay with. But when they try to walk up to the people who are working for Alchemax and talk to them, you actually have the people of Alchemax try to hurt swordsman and Qoui. And it does lead into a small brawl between both sides for a couple of pages, but then you actually have Qoui try to bring peace between the two sides. What he does is he basically takes the sword of swordsman and turns that sword into some kind of elixir to give over to the people of Alchemax to go back and give to their boss as a way to make a deal. If they leave this temple alone, then they can take that sword and use that elixir to make so many different kinds of medicines that could actually help humans down the road. And you have the people who are working for Alchemax at this temple who are trying to cut down the vines kind of agree on the deal and they leave. Now, after that incident, you actually have Qoui talk to swordsman to kind of show him that humans are not that bad, Dad. Look what I did. I was able to make a deal with them and they left this temple alone. You cannot go into life thinking that every single human is bad because there are good humans out there. And so with that being said, is swordsman kind of believing that maybe Qoui is right? But that is the moment you have Qoui and swordsman find one of the many writings of the Celestial Madonna prophecy on the wall, where of course you have Qoui realize that the person on the wall was his mom, and the thing above her head is him, because he is the Celestial Messiah. Now, when they arrive at the grave of the original swordsman, that is the moment you have Qoui realize that this trip was not about them coming here to steal a sword to put next to the grave of the original swordsman. No, because this spot, this same exact spot, is also the spot that the Cotati who took over the body of swordsman was also planted at. And he says to Qoui, his son, that he is tired being this half Cotati, half human. And so he believes for Qoui to basically complete his life goal, being the Celestial Messiah, they need to be apart. And so this is Cotati swordsman saying, I am going to bury myself here and just stay here and possibly die, and hoping that the two sides of me, my Cotati side and the swordsman side, will finally split and I'll be at peace. But with me gone, this could also help you down the road into becoming a great Messiah for this universe. And for Qoui, this is going to be a hard goodbye, because when it comes to Qoui and his father, the Cotati swordsman, they have been together for a very, very long time. Even when Mantis left, they stayed together. And so now this is Qoui realizing that his mother has left him and his father is going to leave him. He is going to be on his own as he goes into this big journey as the Celestial Messiah. But either way, you do have Qoui say goodbye to his father, which is a very sad moment, because as Qoui walks away, you do see the Cotati swordsman begin the process of going back into the ground in the tree where he was originally planted at. But getting back over to Alchemax, let's not forget that they were given elixir that could be very helpful for humans down the road. And that elixir was actually delivered to Robert, the leader of Alchemax. But he's very angry because he even says, yes, they do have an elixir that will be great for humans down the road. But the problem is, though, it is going to take 30 years for them to make anything with this elixir. And so with that being said, Robert is very angry and he tells everyone who was at that site to go back to that site and actually complete their mission this time. But getting back over to the people who work for Alchemax as they're going back to the temple, it is actually going to lead into a big problem. And what I mean is, as they're going around and beginning the process of cutting different trees in the area, they do cut down most of the trees surrounding where the Cotati swordsman was basically planted at. And so with all these trees being cut down and his tree also being cut down, he wakes up very angry to see what the men of Alchemax have done to the area around him that was also connected to the priest of Palma, and see all those plant life destroyed for unknown reasons. It makes him very angry and begin the process of looking at humans as bad guys once again. Now you have Swordsman just go on a rampage because he's very upset. He already had the mindset that humans were bad people, but then his son almost convinced him that humans could be good, mostly good than bad. But of course, with these humans who had worked for Alchemax, cutting back here and cutting down all the trees in his area, including the tree that he was trying to rest in, he gets very upset and begins the process of killing every single member who was working for Alchemax at this site. They're all dead. Just like that, because he was angry for what they have done to this area of the forest. Now, after he had killed every single men and women who were working for Alchemax, that is the moment you have Qoui walk up to calm his father down. But you have his father crying because with what the humans have done with this area, they had basically pulled the Cotati swordsman out of heaven. He was in heaven and then pulled back down to earth because humans are just pure evil and wrong. And so with that, he now understands what Galactus feels like, not being able to just move on from the cruel things he has to do in this world or the cruel life he has to live in. But to go ahead and wrap up this video, when Qoui and also Swordsman arrive back at the home world of the Cotati, you do have Qoui walk over to the great leaders of the Cotatis, which of course they do tell Cotati Swordsman that he cannot be part of this meeting. And the reason why, because he's technically a half human, half Cotati. He is a disgrace to their race. But that is the moment you have Qoui say, no, my father was once a great leader for us, and he can be that great leader again. And so with all that being said, you will respect him like you respect me. Because now this is Qoui realizing that maybe his father, Cotati Swordsman, was correct. Humans are mostly bad, more bad than good. And so with that being said, this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, I'll see y'all next time in the next comic book video. Later, guys.